Good evening. Many thanks for joining us on Nationwide today. We're live in Abuja and I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's begin with an update on coronavirus. The confirmation of the first case of coronavirus disease, otherwise known as COVID-19 in Nigeria, has led to the reconvening of the interministerial and multi-sectoral meeting on preparedness and response to the global scourge. Following the evaluation of issues revolving around Nigeria's efforts at protecting citizens from the disease, intensified flow of credible information on COVID-19 was emphasized as the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, promised to take action on VIPs resisting screening at airports as well as airlines that are not compliant with the guidelines on the screening of passengers.
Part of this national carrier project, and he said to me that, you know what, I feel safer to go to Nigeria than to come back to my home country in England. And the reason is, I was in Abuja 3 days ago. During my trip, I was handed over a form within the aircraft. I was disinfected, and I filled the form to state my travel history and to say my destination, my telephone contact number, and my state of health. And once I came down, everybody was alert, and they took my temperature, and they asked me for my yellow card vaccine. And I showed the yellow card vaccine. And I was informed, if not, I could have been given a shot for free at the airport. And also, they showed me, or I witnessed all over the walls. We've got hand sanitizers all over the walls, displayed, and we could clean our hands. And I went in and I felt safe. But when I came back to London,
full package of that report will come in our subsequent bulletin. But we have in the studio to discuss the COVID-19 outbreak in Nigeria, a health expert and lead coordinator of 2014 Ebola outbreak response. Let's welcome Professor Abdulsalami Nasidi. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, as a virologist, how would you react to the speculations that the tropical nature of Nigeria does not encourage the survival of the virus, talking about COVID-19?
It's very early to say what are the things that will affect the transmissibility of this virus, because it's a novel virus. It's still being under study, and it will be foolhardy to assume that our hot weather might limit its transmission from human to human. Nevertheless, if that happens, it's a good news for us. It's very possible because the virus is very labile, it's very sensitive to heat, but unfortunately, it is spread through droplet. So in those droplets, they survive longer. So this is the other side of the story.
Okay, so let's look at capacity and development, talking about research development in Nigeria in the wake of this COVID-19. What should we be doing at this time as a nation, aside looking at protocol treatment from China?
Well, we shouldn't be left behind. We have very capable scientists now in the field of molecular biology, virology, epidemiology. In fact, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has a program called the Field Epidemiological and Laboratory Training Program. And that program has been building capacity in the areas of public health, research, and disease prevention and control. So we have big volume of scientists now in Nigeria that can handle that aspect of the fight against the COVID-19. We also have very sound laboratories now in the country that can even sequence the virus very quickly. For instance, the Redeemers laboratory in the southwest. We have even one novel laboratory in Odi, Bayelsa State. It's a very solid laboratory of the Ministry of Science and Technology. They can easily sequence the virus and describe its characteristics and use it for anything that we want. We have about 4 or 5 such laboratories. And then finally, we also have Nigerians in diaspora. In the very sound laboratories, they can get hold of some of this, the virus that has come into Nigeria, and start studying it. So there is possibility to do a lot in that area.
I know this COVID-19 is a more severe case compared to Ebola. Now, you were the lead coordinator in 2014 Ebola outbreak response team. Drawing from the experience we're able to conquer, what would you say, as Nigerians, we should put into place now if we must tackle this?
Well, we have a lot to learn from. We should not waste time. This is a time to really act. The virus is on ground. We don't know whether it's only in Lagos or other places. And even though we say this is the first case, I keep saying this is the first detected case. What we did in curbing the spread of Ebola might not be all as effective, for all this, but we can build on the knowledge and experience we have. For instance, this virus is a little bit trickier than the Ebola virus. Ebola virus, you can contact mostly through contagious means. It's either when you come into contact with the body of the patient or his dead body or any dead body that died from Ebola, or any object that patient come into contact with. But in the case of the COVID-19 virus, it's very funny. It has all those contagiousness, also, and then it is also spread through droplet. So it has a wider route and possibility of spreading. So the method or strategy to fight it will be much tougher. And thirdly, we can now build on what we gained from the Ebola lesson and all the facilities that were put in place, to fight these disease. And that's exactly what we're doing in Nigeria. Even the laboratory that was used to diagnose it very quickly was the one that we strengthened, during the Ebola outbreak. So that laboratory is very strong now. As you can see, within 48, 72 hours, they have identified the virus. That's very fast for any country, not only even developed country. For them to diagnose so quick is quite impressive.
I know some Nigerians are in panic. What would you advise?
This is not the time to panic. I think this is the time to know exactly what to do, and we should be following all the advice that have been issued out by the WHO, by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, all the recommendations that are coming through the Federal Ministry of Health, and also we should work with Minister of Information, Minister of Aviation, Minister of Interior. These are the ministries, and Environment, Minister of Environment, Science and Tech. These are the ministries that must come together immediately to start hitting the nail on the head to get this outbreak controlled.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Abdulsalami Nasidi. Your input has been very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He's the lead coordinator 2014 Ebola outbreak response. And we've been looking at COVID-19 in Nigeria. And still on that, the Kano State Ministry of Health has put in place measures to prevent the infiltration of COVID-19 into the state. This was disclosed at a meeting attended by people of vested interest. Let's hear from Hadiza Mohammed.
Kano being one of the densely populated area, commercial nerve center and home of the first West African International Airport, it becomes necessary for the state government to take stringent measures to prevent importation of COVID-19 into the country. It was against this background that the state government reactivated the rapid response team to ensure surveillance and create awareness among people on symptoms and precautionary measures against the deadly disease.
Identified and been trained and have been posted to that center to manage appropriately any case that is brought or that is referred to that center. And we have repositioned drugs and personal protective equipment in the center.
Kano State Government has also deployed personnel to the Aminu Kano International Airport to ensure proper screening of air travelers. The meeting advised citizens not to panic or spread unverified rumor and report any suspected case to the nearest healthcare facility. It was attended by the representatives of the state government, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and other relevant stakeholders. From Kano, Hadiza Muhammad, NTA News.
And in Calabar, it's red alert. But to check the spread of the coronavirus disease in Nigeria, the Cross River State government is leaving nothing to chance with the enforcement of regular screening of passengers at the airport, seaport, and all the entry points into the state. Paul Abel completes the story.
For 2 weeks now, health officials have been on ground at the Margaret Ekpo International Airport, Calabar, to screen passengers on arrival, just like the airplane which just arrived from Lagos with some foreign passengers.
They've checked them, their temperature is still low. However, remember there's an incubation period of 14 days, and so we want to be able to follow up on them to be sure that they didn't come in with the COVID-19.
The Cross River State government has already put in place 2 quarantine facilities.
Surveillance notification officers were trained by the World Health Organizations on how best they can manage samples and manage suspected cases and deliver them to the isolation center.
The health team also visited the Calabar port of Nigerian Ports Authority. Though land borders are equally given attention, emphasis is placed on airports due to the speed travelers cover within a short time.
From all indications, the state government has put in place the necessary mechanism to ensure this coronavirus, COVID-19, is prevented. From the Margaret Ekpo International Airport here in Calabar, I am Paul Abel, NTA News.
Thank you, Paul. Now let's shift our attention to Edo 2020 Games. The chairman, main organizing committee for the National Sports Festival and permanent secretary, Ministry of Sports and Youth Development, Gabriel Aduda, has allayed fears that the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival will be postponed due to the record of COVID-19 in the country. The committee allayed the fears after inspecting the state's infectious disease isolation center mapped out to quarantine prospective patients with the infectious disease in Benin. Elizabeth Omoko reports that the State Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu took the main organizing committee on the tour of the facility.
As the National Sports Festival counts down, with 11,500 athletes and 5,000 officials expected to participate, the state government is concerned with the health of Nigerians. Hence, the Edo State Infectious Disease Isolation Center, designed in the case of outbreak of coronavirus. Mr. Aduda is impressed with the preparedness of the state in all ramifications.
As you can see, it is actually far away from the main hospital. You can see that the facility itself and everything in it was built for purposes like this. So it goes to show how very ready the state is. And then we from the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports are extremely excited that all these measures have been taken into cognizance.
For the Deputy Governor, Philip Shuaibu, the state is prepared to deal with any emergency as it hosts the nation.
You have to put all mechanisms in place to make sure that their safety is guaranteed, not only for security, also for their health. And don't forget that we in Edo State, we already have measures to deal with viruses like that of coronavirus.
The National Sports Festival, tagged Edo 2020, is scheduled for March 22nd to April 1st in Benin. Elizabeth Omoko, NTA News.
Let's get update on coronavirus in Lagos as passengers screening processes and healthcare strategies have been heightened at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. We join Michael Lale live, who is standing by at the airport to give us more details. Michael, what is the scenario like over there? Okay, we seem to lost signal there to Michael, but if we definitely get that, we'll get back to Michael. Let's move on. Let's look at judiciary hearing by the Supreme Court on the application filed by the former governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha of People's Democratic Party, PDP, seeking a review of its January 14th earlier judgment of the Apex Court was forestalled. This follows a request for adjournment by counsel to Ihedioha, Kanu Agabi SAN, to enable him respond to a motion served on him this morning while in court by the respondents. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chumwoba earlier, was at the Supreme Court, and she tells us more now.
Thank you, studio. The two cases slated today at the Supreme Court could not go on, that of Imo and Zamfara states. When the case came up for hearing counsel to Emeki Hediaha Kano Agabi SAN told the court that he was served with a process this morning and that he needed time to respond to that process, and asked for adjournment for tomorrow, Tuesday, the 3rd of March, to enable him respond to that application. In the case of Zamfara State, it also came up for hearing. Counsel to APC, Clark SAN, told the court that he had difficulty serving processes to the parties. The application cannot go on without service of process to those people. So the court ruled that the processes must have to be served to the parties for them to appear in court. And in the case of Emeki Hediaha, former governor of Imo State of PDP, is actually asking the court to reverse its earlier judgment, which nullified his election and brought in Hope Uzodinma. Case of Zamfara State, the Zamfara APC is also saying that they have not committed any wrong, and that the court should also look into the matter.
Many thanks, Vera. We'll definitely be updating you as the events unfold. Thank you, Vera. Now, let's rejoin Michael Olaleye, who is standing by at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport to give us an update on the screening and healthcare strategies that has been put in place there. Michael, what's the scenario like?
Thank you, Ruth. The scenario here is calm, is cool, with no apprehension. And right from this point, you can see the passengers undergoing different screening. What's it called? You can see the passengers undergoing screening from this point. And prior to 2014, before the outbreak of Ebola, hardly will you see the use of thermal scanner in any of our airports in Nigeria. But the Ebola experience has actually prepared the country for the outbreak of coronavirus. Despite the fact that the Italian man who tested positive to the coronavirus actually passed through these airports, that has enabled health workers to strengthen surveillance measures. The first thing put in place is that while you're coming in, there is a thermal scanner that captures your temperature automatically, and after that you're being given a form to fill. The form enables you to fill your data into the form and get all the necessary information in case of any development. Then for those travelers coming in from China and other suspected countries, they are given more intensive checks. I have with me here Mr. Teller, is one of the port health workers at the airport here. Sir, what is the development and how have you been going about the screening?
It has been going on fine, and passengers have been cooperating, because all the airlines have been duly informed that they should give to the passengers while on board the forms to fill. And they are expected to fill the forms conveniently while they are on board. So when they are light, then they can come with the forms. Of course, the thermal scanner is there that will be checking their temperature, and as well, our officials will be looking at them physically and other attributes. And of course, the form is so explicit and so straightforward, where it is a self-explanatory form, that is a self-assessment form. You are assessed, you tell us whether you are having fever, you are having cough, you have difficulty in breathing, and be that as it may, if any one of them falls into yes category, then definitely we will be sent to the secondary screening point.
As so far, has there been any suspected case since?
Yes, there are. Some due to the travel stress, they might have a little temperature or thereabout, or some that have gone for one medical treatment abroad and they are on medication, they tend to experience some little perhaps body pains or temperature, which of course in the secondary screening point, the doctors on duty will be able to assess that, and then there will be an instant decision whether to transport them to isolation camps. Okay. So also, it is expected that every passenger that are coming should drop their forms, and sanitizer should be done regularly, cleaning of hands and everything.
Mr. Teller, I would really appreciate your contribution from this place. And let me quickly say this, Ruth, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has given the directive to airline operators to also ensure that before passengers go into the airplane, they should be tested. And that's our bit here from the Mursala Mohammed International Airport. We'll be giving you details as the development of foes. But let me quickly take you to our Lagos studio where Jennifer Igwe is waiting to give you more stories trending.
And for more on coronavirus, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has reassured Nigerians that the state government will continue to collaborate with relevant stakeholders to curtail the spread of coronavirus. The governor gave the assurance while inspecting facilities at the Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba, Lagos mainland. Nososula reports.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, who inspected the Emergency Operations Center, Isolation Ward, and Biosecurity Laboratories at the Infectious Disease Hospital, described as insensitive the decision of some Nigerians to make quick money out of such a grave situation. During a brief meeting with a combined team of health officials, including those from the state and federal ministries of health, World Health Organization, the African Union, and representatives of security agencies at the isolation unit, Governor Sanwo-Olu gave an assurance that all relevant stakeholders would be engaged in the coming days to properly sensitize and galvanize action to curb the spread of the virus.
I've invited some of my fellow governors and some commissioners of health around Lagos, especially around the southwest, just so that we can explain to them where we are, what we've been doing, but more importantly, to see how we can scale up right around the federation centers like this.
The governor assured health workers at the IDH that government would do everything to support them while they put in the long hours needed to ensure that the situation is brought under control. While giving the governor an update, the Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, reported that the index patient is being monitored and currently showing steady signs of improvement. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, NTA News.
Away from coronavirus, amendment of existing laws and formulation of a protocol to streamline the process of shipping and clearing of charitable items are key to removing the existing bottlenecks. Key players in the industry who gave the recommendations in Lagos were also mindful of those who take advantage of import waivers on charitable items for terrorism or personal gains. Michael Olaleye reports.
The northeastern part of the country, with more than 1.9 million internally displaced persons, is grappling with humanitarian challenges. Although the federal government is strengthening capacity to ameliorate these challenges, the emergency gap is huge. Charitable items provided by non-governmental organizations are ready-made alternative, but a long list of conditions necessary for clearance of vessels and cargoes conveying these items are cumbersome. It was revealed by this forum that in the course of receiving charitable items from abroad, non-governmental organizations interface with 17 regulatory agencies.
We have to come together to make deliberate action to see that we facilitate the transmission of this cargo.
Some policies might have to be changed. Some laws might be modified to make things easier. And we definitely appreciate the president creating the humanitarian ministry because we need that.
The concern of the forum is that why isn't the clearance procedures, the process must not be circumvented by desperate businessmen.
There's a need for us to ensure there's a dedicated contact point for non-profit or charitable shipping so that we know which office to go through.
To accelerate the process, the National Assembly is already expressing commitments to having a specific recommendations that could be backed up with robust legislation.
We need to look for an interim arrangement to be able to make charitable items better delivered to areas of conflict in the northeast and in the northwest.
It was jointly agreed that, aside the harmonization of procedures, the flow of financial transactions must be monitored to avoid terrorists from using specific waivers on charitable items to promote their agenda. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
And on security, in the fight against vandalism and other illegal activities causing the nation huge economic loss, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has apprehended 4 suspected vandals on Idale High C, Topo Badagry, Lagos State. Uzezi Arure tells us more.
Bags of rice, cartons of turkey, kegs of groundnut oil, and premium motor spirits (PMS) are not for sale, but recoveries from vandals and smugglers whose activities have greatly contributed to the nation's economic loss. In an attempt to smuggle 130 kegs of PMS to Cotonou, Benin Republic, these vandals were arrested in Badagry by the Marine Unit of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps.
It cannot do this again, and it cannot. You don't know what to say because for this work, it will not involve himself anymore again.
In another operation, the NSCDC Anti-Vandalism Squad intercepted 3 wooden boats on Dadi High Sea in Badagry, loaded with 71 bags of rice, 2 gallons of groundnut oil, 30 cartons of frozen foods, and 3 boat engines, which were handed over to the Nigerian Customs Service.
All the vandals around this place have to go and do some other things. So we are appealing to them to change their character and work well.
The Corps appealed to well-meaning Nigerians to join hands in the mission to eradicate the activities of saboteurs. In Lagos, Uzezi Arure, NTA News.
That report ends our contribution from Lagos. Nationwide continues with roots in Abuja after this break.
Africa is a land of opportunities. There's no better time to be and become an entrepreneur in Africa.
When I got my seed capital, it was just an idea. I didn't even have a business. There was no happy coffee.
Right now, we are employing 22 young people.
De recevoir le financement qui m'a aidé à démarrer cette activité et aider beaucoup.
Having been an entrepreneur myself, let me help to create more. That is the driving force behind the Tony Edmelu Foundation. No one but us will develop Africa. We need to look inward to see how we can share prosperity.
The future of Africa is in your hands.
On Tuesday Live this week, proactive measures in curtailing the first case of COVID-19 in Nigeria, plus sustaining the conversation on increase in electricity tariff and other issues with those who should know. Tuesday Live at 10:30 p.m. will be incisive. Don't miss it.
Coming on April 2nd, 2020, in the capital city of Abuja, the Ivory 8 Ball, a life-saving fundraising event featuring music and arts in aid of skin cancer patients with albinism. For participation and sponsorship, call Edidiong on 070-197-73352 or Chinwe on 090-559-61514. This event is powered by Nigerian Television Authority, TV Enterprises, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, African Independent Television, and Ray Power FM, Silverbird Television, and Rhythm FM. The Albino Foundation, the Ivory 8 Ball, for a worthy cause. Watch out.
My name is Yemi Adetunji, the COO downstream of NNPC. Ever since the closure of the borders, we have seen a marked reduction of about 10% in terms of the evacuation of what you call loadouts of PMS, which equates to about 6 million liters per day, essentially because of the border closure. Because of certain aspects we've also done as NNPC, working with our sister organizations, sister agencies, Nigerian Customs, DPR, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and other agencies, and also what we call Operation White, which is an intervention we have put in place to trace and track every molecule of petroleum products as they arrive in country through the vessels, as they move through the depots, and as they're evacuated with trucks out of the depots.
Many thanks for staying tuned. The federal government has expressed deep concern over the persistent hike in the price of homegrown rice. To this end, key players in the industry have been tasked to look inward and check the trend in the best interest of the nation. Yahasu Hassan Barao reports that the Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Sani Nanono, said this when he met with rice millers in Kano.
The Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Saba Nanono, in company of other top government officials at the Ministry and Chairman House Committee on Agriculture, Manirba Badang Abundi, were at the stakeholders meeting to have first-hand information from the rice millers on successes and challenges facing the industry. This is with a view to ameliorating them being a critical player in the federal government agricultural policy.
From a real investigation, the cost of paddy rice per bag is about 8,500. But the mill price at the retail level is 17,000, and that is outrageous and unpatriotic.
To come and listen to the players in the industry so that we can see where we can correct errors or where we can consolidate the gains.
Nanono says the federal government will this year construct 50,000 roads linking rural areas and train more extension service workers to boost agricultural production to ensure food security. Representative of the milling industry acknowledged the federal government giant strides, which includes zero tariff on agricultural machineries and equipment, as well as subsidy on agricultural inputs. This, he noted, has significantly facilitated growth in the agricultural sector from 2.4 million in 2010 to 3.6 million hectares in 2018. In Kano, Johannes Asambaro, NTA News.
And to felicitation now, President Muhammadu Buhari joins the Christian community in celebrating the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adejare Adeboye, at 78, saluting his dedication to God, welfare of the church, and consistency in preaching and living the gospel for many years. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the President felicitates with the Redeemed Christian Church of God, members of Pastor Adeboye's family, commending the positive influence the preacher has had on the country and its citizens with a wide network that hugely impacts on education, infrastructure and health. President Buhari praised that Almighty God would grant Pastor Adeboye a longer life, good health and more wisdom to continue sharing the love of Christ. Let's head to Jos now to get more reports on Nationwide, and Felicia will be our guide.
Thank you, Ruth. Welcome to Jos. The National Veterinary Research Institute, VOM, has called for an update of its research and laboratory facilities that will boost vaccine production and enhance animal health in the country. Director of the institute, Dr. David Shamaki, made this known during an interactive session with leaders and members of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. Zanred Imun has details.
Drawing pastoralists from Bauchi, Taraba, Nasarawa, Kaduna and Plateau states, the interactive session-based discussions on the proliferation of fake vaccines in the markets, inadequate sensitization of livestock rearers, availability and accessibility of vaccines, and inadequate funding of the Institute for widespread provision of vaccines. There is need, therefore, to chart a way forward for a safe, hygienic and productive livestock farming in the country. Members of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, while appreciating the opportunity to discuss their challenges, called for more to be done in providing proper channels for which vaccines will be distributed.
Parks are all around our villages, our rural communities, administering the funds or the fake vaccines.
As it is a norm associated with the session, kola nuts were presented to the participants, after which they were taken on a tour of an ongoing laboratory project, which on completion the Institute believes will boost production of vaccines. In Jos, Zenra Dimun, NTA News.
To enhance economic activities and improve interaction within and outside the state, Plateau State Government has injected 80 commercial vehicles to boost transportation. Governor Simon Lalong, while handing over the vehicles, renewed his administration commitment to improving the economic and social life of the people. Abba Abubakar Yakubu has the details.
These 80 units of Ford Galaxy vehicles have been provided by Plateau State Government through a bilateral contract with Plateau State Council of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. The governor, while presenting the vehicles, assured of his readiness to boost the transport system in the state, which will further enhance economic activities and human interaction.
Despite our limited resources, we have decided to intervene in some federal roads within the state because of their economic importance to the people. We hope that the federal government will eventually reimburse us so that we can do more.
Plateau State Government has paid half of the amount, while each of the beneficiaries will pay the other half in installment for the period of 9 months.
We are assuring you that our people are law-abiding and very loyal and obey the rule of law. We are going to give you total support.
State Commissioner for Transport appealed to the beneficiaries to ensure the maintenance of the vehicles and abide by traffic rules. In Jos, Abba Abubakar Yakubu, NTA News.
That does it from Jos. Ruth is back to you in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Many thanks, Felicia. Let's look at security issues. Residents of the 5 communities of Giwa and Igabi local government areas of Kaduna State who came under attack by gunmen Sunday morning are appealing for the establishment of security posts in the area. The communities say the presence of security personnel could help avert such attacks on them. They told Governor Nasiru Ahmad El-Rufai, who was on an on-the-spot assessment to the affected communities, that the attacks by gunmen claimed lives and property. The governor calls for calm, promising that necessary steps are being taken to bring the perpetrators to justice and guarantee security of lives and property. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps is adopting more proactive measures in curbing criminal tendencies threatening internal security and well-being of the people. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that this came to the fore during the 2020 World Civil Defense Celebration in Abuja.
It is another turnaround of event in the management of the security architecture of the country, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps is dedicating its day to the review of progress achieved, assessment of major tactical operations of the Corps during the year, and new strategies to drive the sustainable vision of safeguarding national assets and infrastructure. Disaster management took center stage. Deputy Commandant General of NSCDC Nathaniel Ubong says the renewed vigor of the Corps is to ensure adequate measures are put in place to address acts undermining the security of the country. He explains that the establishment of outgrower rangers and other anti-crimes outfits across the country is fast answering questions of farmers' herders crisis, adoption and other heinous crimes.
We are the 56 member state nations globally, and so it's also to draw awareness that we are deeply involved in disaster management in our homes, in our offices, especially with the theme of this year's civil defense, a first aider in every home.
The ceremony climaxed with colorful parade and other social events of the Corps. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And to get more reports on Nationwide, let's join Abubakar Mohammed in our Maiduguri Network Center.
Thank you, Ruth, for joining us here in Maiduguri.
Improving troops' welfare for maximum efficiency in routing the marauding remnants of Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast region will continue to receive attention as Nigerian Army provides recreational facility for soldiers on the war front. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, stated this in a message to troops at the headquarters, Theater Command Operation Lafia Dole in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Memuna Garba reports.
Enhancing troops' welfare and well-being will no doubt motivate them, especially those at the front line, to work gallantly towards containing the resurgence of activities of the terrorists in the theater of war. To this end, troops' allowances in new rates have been paid to enable them confront the Boko Haram terrorists head-on, in addition to the introduction of habit and cigarette allowance to further motivate soldiers and ensure they are fit. It is against this background that the Chief of Training and Operations Nigerian Army, Major General Enobong Udo, unveiled Theater Command Combato Tent. He charged the troops to continue with the offensive against the unrepentant terrorists, to rid the theater of terrorism, and assured that troops' welfare will continue to be given priority.
The Chief of Army Staff has, seized every opportunity to make sure that he motivates the officers and soldiers who are fighting to make sure that this country, achieves the peace and tranquility that it deserves.
Everything you need to maintain and recreate yourself is within the theater headquarters, because here our business is 24 hours. So why not trying to destroy the body? We also make sure that we're able to do our work. Then we must keep the body going.
The Combato Tent is a recreational facility where both officers and soldiers recreate while discharging their responsibilities. In Maiduguri, Memuna Garba, NTA News.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, has reassured to boost the morale of personnel of Air Task Force Operation Lafia Dole by providing them with the necessary wherewithal for enhanced performance in the theater of operations. He gave the assurance while inaugurating the newly constructed aircraft hangar at the Air Task Force Command in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Yarwaya Umar has the report.
Current efforts by the federal government in securing additional platforms to support the ongoing counter-insurgency operations requires hangars to protect the aircraft and ammunition from the harsh weather. Addressing officers and men of the Air Task Force before inaugurating the aircraft hangar, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar assured to continue to boost the morale of troops to enable them to deliver on their mandates by ensuring that the country is well protected from any aggression. Chief of Air Staff said provision of the hangar became necessary in view of the harsh weather conditions setting in, hence the need for protective measures for maintenance personnel to work effectively on the aircraft.
With what we have here, we can bring in our aircraft into this hangar and do our maintenance in comfort. The airmen will be more relaxed and they will concentrate more and they will do a better job. And they will also feel that the system is concerned about them.
Commander, Air Task Force Operation Lafia Dole, Air Commodore Precious Amadi, thanked the Chief of Air Staff for his untiring commitments towards their welfare and provision of infrastructures for the optimum performance and comfort of NAP personnel, especially in the Northeast. He pledged their unalloyed commitment in the fight against insurgency and promised to do more towards ending the crisis in the region. After unveiling the hangar, the Chief of Air Staff held a closed-door meeting with personnel of the Air Task Force Operation Lafia Dole on the ongoing Operation Rattlesnake Tree. In Maiduguri, Yarwaya Umar, NTA News.
That's a contribution from Maiduguri. Ruth in Abuja has more stories for us shortly after this commercial break. Do stay.
We have 30,364 individual, 6,437 household.
Boko Haram ya koro mu daga garin mu wanda ake cewa Doron Baga.
The government has done a lot of things. Some corporate bodies have also done a lot of things, but there's still a lot to be done.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down.
Do you have a job where you're going to? No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin.
You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
Lassa fever occurs when a person gets bitten by a rat carrying the Lassa virus. It is also contacted through the consumption of foods that have been contaminated by either the saliva, urine, or excreta of the rats. Lassa fever is deadly, so protect yourself and loved ones from it. Keep rats away from your homes. Ensure that leftover foods are properly covered at night and heat up properly before consumption. Wash fruits properly before you eat. Maintain regular hand wash with soap and water, as well as environmental sanitation. Report all feverish conditions and bleeding from the nose or mouth to the health facility nearest to you, and don't indulge in self-medication. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. All visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Good to have you. Stay tuned. And our next stop on Nationwide is Benin as we join Ogochukwu Kaona for more reports.
Thank you, Ruth. Good evening. The compliance and measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus is high among Benin residents. They are reacting to the confirmation of a coronavirus case in the country. This is what Ifoma Okafo is getting to us.
The state government, since the report of coronavirus outbreak in Nigeria, has been on high alert. Apart from sensitization drives, Area Specialist Hospital and Stella Obasanjo hospitals have been mapped out as isolation centers. Now, how aware are citizens of Edo State on the outbreak of coronavirus and the basic protective measures against the new virus?
Treat it as a rule. We treat our Bella very, very cautious by restraining from embracing, from shaking hands, washing our hands with soap and liquid water every time.
Like what they said, we should avoid touching, and sneezing in the public place is not advisable.
A visit to pharmacy shop revealed that face mask and hand sanitizer are on high demand.
Many people have been coming around to get hand sanitizers and to get face masks. That shows that they are very aware of the preventive measures.
The clergy also spoke on the protective measures adopted by the church to avert the spread.
So you see that all our masses here at St. Joseph, we give information to our parishioners. We have a new disease in town called coronavirus.
Consensus is that people should take care of their health, maintain hand and respiratory hygiene to protect themselves and others and stop the spread of coronavirus. In Benin, Ifoma Okafo, NTA News.
The investigative panel set up in 2019 under the National Human Rights Commission to handle sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria is in Benin to look into the cases of violence and other related matters received from the South-South region. Ivie Oyakire reports.
Daily, cases of violation of rights abound with little or no help for victims. This is why the National Human Rights Commission has come to the domain of victims. In this hall are some victims awaiting their cases to be heard by the panel, of which 26 cases of violence from this zone are before the members.
We need to go to them where they are, and also to raise awareness within the Benin environment so that those who have not been able to report their own can come out and report.
This is a rapid response where we hear them out, try to find solution, one, on the immediate with regard to the complaint or the violation of human rights they have suffered.
The National Human Rights Commission knows that ending sexual and gender-based violence cannot be done alone. Representatives of concerned persons who can help in ending this scourge were on the ground to lend voices.
We see this as a welcome development. We have been at the forefront of agitations against sexual and gender-based violence, especially those concerning women and children.
We also take a lead on how to handle women and children in this aspect.
A closed-door session with victims, violators and panelists is next on the agenda. The team will be proceeding to Abakaliki, Calabar, Yola for further hearing of cases. The panel has been to other zones in the country for the same issue. In Benin, Ivie Oyahiri, NTA News.
And against the backdrop of far-reaching reforms of the federal government in promoting business, Edo State government has inaugurated small claims courts to handle simple commercial disputes involving the recovery of liquidated money demands. 11 magistrate courts in the state have been designated as the courts, and they are spread across different magisterial districts.
The idea behind the establishment of the Small Claims Court is in line with the desire of Edo State government to ease doing business in the state. The Small Claims Court will enhance access to justice delivery in liquidated debt dispute of 5 million naira and below in a speedy, inexpensive and simple manner.
Other benefits of the Small Claims Court include the congestion of cases in the magistrate court, costs of proceeding is low, ease in dispute resolution for small claims involving small and medium enterprises, SMEs and private citizens. And lastly, provide enabling business environment.
Governor Godwin Obaseki unveiled the Practice Directions Handbook of the Edo State Small Claims Court.
Without a strong dispute resolution mechanism, you cannot have economic growth. And for us, we want Edo to continue to be the economic hub of Nigeria.
11 magistrates' courts spread across different magisterial districts in Edo State have been designated for the purpose. The establishment of the Small Claims Court in Edo State is the third of its kind in Nigeria and first in the South-South. In Benin, good luck in Aini, NT News.
And as the news from here is back to Abuja for the continuation of the.
Thank you, Ogochikuka. The Minister of State Works and Housing, Abubakar Aliyu, has re-emphasized the federal government's commitment to providing critical infrastructure across the country. The minister stated this in Oshogbo during a courtesy visit to the state governor. Let's hear from Femi Afariogun.
Governor Boyega Oyetola, who gave pass mark to Buhari's administration in terms of infrastructure, insisted that government at all levels must also make concerted effort to reposition the sector in order to measure up with the needs of the people.
The budget allocation can't be alone. We should bring in PPP. The era of government being able to do everything is over, and we have to be realistic.
He assured the people of the state that his government will provide the needed infrastructural facilities to fast-track economic growth and development of Osun State. The Minister of State for Works and Housing, Abubakar Aliyu, commended Osun State government's effort in infrastructure, particularly the construction of some federal roads in the state.
Road projects going on, contracts going on across the nation, and people want them to be completed. And we cannot continue to be doing them in piecemeal like that. So we strategize that this year we are going to prioritize those that have reached 8% completion.
The minister was in Osun State to inspect the level of work done so far on federal roads. In Oshogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And talking sports, new record set at the just concluded First Athletics